Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
How to engage participants remotely. Lessons learned during the pandemic. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, we've all had to adapt to a new way of working. Our academic lives, once filled with in-person conferences, training and data collection, switched to the virtual world. In this blog, I will share what I've learned from my own experience and from colleagues about ways to adapt your work to an online format. Practical tips on hosting online events are one thing, engaging your audience remotely is another. I will share our top tips to keep workshops interactive and consider how this applies to engaging people with dementia in the move to remote working. During my PhD, I was awarded the Beacon Bursary, a public engagement fund supported by UCL Culture. I developed and hosted the Body and Brain workshop, which focused on ways to achieve brain health using physical health strategies such as healthy eating. I worked with Diabetes UK and the Stroke Association to run these health education workshops. I developed a video of discussion points for other organisations to use with people interested in the link between the body and brain. Due to ongoing social distancing guidelines, I knew the workshops would be conducted remotely. I also knew I had many colleagues in a similar position and wanted to hear their experiences of adapting content to an online format. So I brought together academics to share their lessons learned on how to adapt and run remote workshops effectively. The group had a variety of experience in hosting training for academics, focus groups for those who deliver arts and cultural projects, conferences focused on ageing and dementia, and interventions for people with mild cognitive impairment. All agreed that online formats increased accessibility by removing travel issues and through reaching a wider audience by promotion on social media. Tips for academics hosting online events. Decide on your software. Zoom may be more familiar to members of the public from interacting with family, friends, and social groups throughout the pandemic. Microsoft Teams may be more familiar to us academics, but make sure all facilitators are aware of any new features. Time is different online. Be flexible with your content. Prioritise key messages you want to get across to allow for lots of interaction. Concentration levels differ online, with 1 hour often being the limit. Plan and be prepared. Technical difficulties come part and parcel of working online. Try to plan for any technical difficulties by having a run-through before your event and starting the meeting early. Having a facilitator to work with you is a must. They will help you to admit participants, take minutes, and support people who may have difficulties connecting. Tips for remote engagement. Keep it small. As in person, workshops are best in smaller groups. Having no more than 10 people per workshop will facilitate discussion and also be easier to see on gallery view. Minimising slide use is also beneficial for a sense of connection. Have an offline component. Engaging with your participants' physical space, for example, printed or drawing material, can make workshops more interactive. Send material out in advance to make the most of offline spaces. Feeling comfortable in the online space. Dedicate a time at the beginning of your workshop for people to introduce themselves. It's important for people to find their voice in the space and feel confident to participate. To see or not to see. Encourage participants to have their video on by acknowledging the difficulties of being on home. Set a culture of the meeting to be inclusive and work with your participants to understand what they consider to be a safe space. How to involve people with dementia in workshops. Consider digital competency, but don't assume older people won't have any. Many people do have access to technology, but require support to join workshops. This can be from family members or from workshop hosts. Offering a conversation prior to the workshop can support participants to learn a new platform and to understand features such as gallery view and the raised hand function. What's your language? Phrases which might be second nature to you or I might cause confusion. We've lost her, he's frozen, they've gone. Remain mindful of technical jargon explain what's happening on screen, and allow people to reorientate themselves following any screen changes. Offering an informal chat after the workshop provides an opportunity for participants to ask any questions, replacing in-person opportunities at tea breaks or when leaving the session. Overall, we found that people with cognitive impairment were grateful for the opportunity to connect with others, even online. However, it's important to acknowledge that remote contact does not replace face-to-face interactions. In fact, we found that some older people with long-term conditions would prefer to wait for in-person events rather than interacting online. As we move into life post-pandemic, hybrid events with both in-person and online elements may be the answer to provide digital accessibility whilst also acknowledging the importance of in-person contact. Thank you to all who shared learning for this blog.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.